Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how I fix a scratch on a finished piece of wood using lacquer sticks. Now you can use lacquer sticks or you can use wax sticks. Wax sticks are readily available even at Home Depot, and the process is really the same. The exception is that wax sticks are soft, so it's not a durable repair, and with time it will sink down or it can even be rubbed off. A lacquer stick is an actual stick made out of lacquer. They're rock hard like this. If you drop them, they shatter like glass, so it has to be melted into it. What you need to do this, you need basically a very important tool is this sort of putty knife made for that purpose, which is convex on there. It's got two sharp edges, and it's used to put the wax into the damage. Now, you need heat, in this case a alcohol lamp. And with this system, usually what you use is also a felt pad and a product called Abrasol, which basically is alcohol. And what you do once you put the lacquer in, you level it on the surface by saturating one side of the pad with the Abrasol. What it does is it softens the lacquer and takes it out, whatever is in excess of the surface. And then with the other dry side, you finish by polishing it off. Quite honestly, I don't like to do that because you always wind up altering the finish. There's not too many ways around that, but I try to minimize it. So what I like to do is the following. In this board here, there is already a damage that I just fixed. And if it's vertical, it's nearly invisible. And it's right there. As it becomes horizontal, you see it. Unfortunately, that's the nature of things. So if it's on an horizontal surface, it's always going to be pretty obvious, especially to somebody that knows about it. If it's vertical, many times it's nearly invisible. So I'm going to demonstrate how I do this. So again, we choose the proper color of lacquer stick, which is this one. We have the knife. Very important to keep the knife always clean, because if you start burning the lacquer stick on it, it turns dark, and then of course the repair becomes dark too. So I'm going to put a scratch next to the other one. So as you see, there is the other scratch. So what I like to do is this. I like to cover the adjacent area with tape. And you go right up to the edge of the damage, as close as possible. Certain tapes are very thin and you can bend them around, like the ones used for in body shops for automotive work. It's not what I'm using, but there is such a thing. And again, you go right up to the damage, follow it as close as possible. You could use another layer of tape, but the idea is also not to come too much above the surface. Okay, so now we have everything covered except for the damaged area. So we're going to take our knife with the lamp right there, and we're going to warm up the knife concave side down, because you're going to use the other side. And what this does is heats up the knife, so when you can slice a little bit off, and it melts immediately into a liquid, and you're going to rub it into the damage. Again, keep the knife clean. this dries within seconds, becomes a solid within seconds. So you need to just take a tiny little bit at a time and work it into the damage. Again, just takes time. The scratch happens in a second, the repair does not. Again, you have to do this several times, even on a short scratch like that, because the lacquer solidifies pretty quick. All you're trying to do now is fill the damage with it. Okay, and that's good. So again, keep that knife clean, very important. You don't want any charred remains of lacquer in there. Okay, warm it up one more time. And just work the stuff in there. Back and forth. Okay, that part of it is done. Okay. And it's always good to shut this thing off. Okay. Okay. All right, now I'm going to skip this step with a leveler and the pad and show you how I like to do this. If it's a flat surface or a convex surface is very easy as long as you got the right tool. If it's a concave surface, you got to be careful because the chisel will dig in on the side. So you got to see what you have and how you're going to do this. You can always use the leveling fluid, the aerosol, and a pad. And again, you should let this dry for like half an hour. Even though it solidifies right away, it's always good to let it dry. Don't be in a hurry. Take the tape out towards the damage. Don't pull it away from the damage. Okay. So you see right now where it is filled in is the other one that I had done before. Next to it, you can see the difference before I do the second step. And as you turn it horizontally, you can see also the difference. Okay, now, taking a absolutely sharp razor chisel. A chisel, razor sharp that is, rather. It's got to have a flat back. Okay. Now, you're just using the weight of the chisel, not putting any real pressure, and keeping it pretty much flat. Just maybe you raise it slightly, not even half a degree, and at an angle in relationship to the damage. So it's a slicing motion, not a pushing, cutting through motion. You're going to lay it flat, and very carefully, you're just going to go and trim where it sticks up, which is very little, and again, that depends on the taper you use. Again, no pressure. You don't want any part of the chisel to touch the finish, to damage the finish adjacent to it. Keep the chisel clean. Take your time. at an angle like 45, 50 degrees. So it's like a slicing motion. Just push it slightly, no pressure downwards. The weight of the chisel is what's sufficient. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically cut it down to the level of the existing finish. I'm not sure you can see here, but you can see how it cuts the excess lacquer off. Okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty level. Now, this board has a satin finish, and regardless how hard you try, as you rub back and forth, even if you start rubbing in one area steadily with a piece of paper, you end up polishing that finish and it becomes shinier. So what you do then is you got to do this. You have to be very careful. If it's a small surface like on your chair, you do the entire bottom of the chair, the entire seat of the chair. So you take 4-0 steel wool, which is the finest there is, okay, and using a block, flat block, no pressure, just with the weight of the steel wool on the block, you just rub it with the grain back and forth. What that does is it removes any marks you may have had from the repair, outside of the repair itself. And if you created a shiny spot in that area, it basically cuts it down to a satin. Okay, and there it is. Just relatively flat. Again, if it's horizontal, vertical, it's not that visible. The problem again is always in a horizontal surface. You see how you start. See it just reflects the light in a different way, and you have no choice with that. But it's durable. If the color is close, this one is not that close. It's a little darker, but if the color is close, it becomes really not that obvious. And that's it.